Thank you. Thank you, Roman. 3 must-knows when it comes to ICO compliance. So I'll try to make this quick. This is actually for you if you're actually planning on ICO. There are 3 things that you definitely need to know in terms of compliance. We all know the ICC HOWEY test, right? It's basically an investment of money in a public, in a common enterprise for profits motive, right? The problem with this is that the definitions of what that means is in the grayish, right? It's in the gray area. So a lot of people are trying to do the ICO. They're trying to figure out if they're doing the right thing or not, they're compliant or not. So what we're trying to do here is trying to see if we can avoid that, provide a little bit of peace of mind, so that as you're planning and launching your ICO, you know if you're actually with or against the law in a sense, right? Again, there's nothing definitive of this, but what we can do, we can actually learn from the past, from some of the action the SEC and other governing agencies took so far on ICOs and related activities. For example, the Dow back in July, they deemed the Dow to be a security, and so forth, right? Some of the threads that we can piece together to figure out what we can do. So the first thing is, as you launch your ICO, and I like to call it TGEs. TGE as token generation events, right? ICO is basically, it's almost like a joke to the SEC saying, haha, I'm doing an IPO and I'm not going to register it, right? That is not going to make him happy. So from now on, trying to call whatever you're doing a TGE, a token generation event. That's a proper way to call it. And then you ask yourself, is it an idea or is it concrete? Idea is much more close to what a security is, right? Versus if you have something concrete like a product or a software, a platform, it's much more tangible, right? You can prove that you're actually building, doing something. So it's farther from being a security, if you will, right? And to build on top of that, what you want to make sure you have is, again, something more concrete. The point here is just make sure that you have something concrete to show, right? Not just a white paper, an idea. People ask me, should I build a demo, an alpha? Oftentimes these clients, it's their first ICO. The demo can be easily flaked, right? Everybody can put up a demo. The point is that if you're really building something, you have to build something that people can use. And that's why it's important for you to build an alpha. An alpha is something that actually, where I can go inside, play around, and use the token, and prove the SEC and the rest of the community that people are actually using the token. There's a utility value to the token, which is going to be my point, number 2. And that proves the fact that you're actually trying to create something. It's not just an idea, a white paper, a possible security. And then, being used or not by users, make sure that the alpha that you're actually building before the launch is used. Don't do an ICO with an alpha that is not being used. Okay? That's not good. You want to show that you already have something that is being used, and there are people actually saying, hey, this is a product, right? Again, all you're trying to do here is staying away from the subconscious thinking of this is a security, right? That a lot of people, including regulators, have. The second question that you want to ask yourself as you do your TGE, your token generation event, is, does the token itself have utility? So everybody a little show of hands, who's playing an ICO here? Okay. Who knows what a utility, the token utility is? Very few people. Okay, so utility of the token means like, why the heck, why in the world we need this token? Right? So it has to have a utility. For example, utility is an access to a platform. You want to use the service, the platform, you have to use the token. So that's a utility. You want to buy a product, you got to use this token. And a lot of these companies say, well, we're going to use the token, but also we're going to allow customers to buy in fiat. Fiat like euro, dollars, and other currency. And that doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. because that's not exclusive utility. Everybody talking about utility value of the token. What it matters really from a regulatory standpoint is exclusive utility. And exclusive utility means that I can only buy through the token. You know, the SEC and all the other government agencies are now really stupid. They understand that you're trying to game the system, offering fiat and the token. So the token doesn't really have a utility. Make sense? Number 3, is my token an investment vehicle? Is it a money maker? Or does it have real utility? It's just to kind of speculate and make profit. And do not state or imply or write or mention in any form when you're doing a TG that it might go up in value. Don't say that. Don't even allude or be close to the thinking, because that is proved that the model, that the token, it is a security, right? Even if you hint it, doesn't have to be completely transparent, but if you hint it somehow, that's liability for you, a bad liability, right, that you want to stay away from. And again, try to call this from now on TG and no ICOs, right? Token generation events. So the takeaway, don't risk it. Ask these questions before you launch your ICO, not after, right? There's no begging for forgiveness. Consider registering the token with the SEC. If you know that there's no utility value, Reg D, Reg A, Reg A+. United States has a lot of good regulations for crowd sales. Engage with the SEC. They're there to kind of really help you. Reach out to them. In the next page, I'm going to give you some contact information that you can use to kind of reach out to them. Submit case for records. Everything's going to be tracked and recorded. So you can ask for a letter of non-action or a letter of advisor. And they will be able to kind of advise on your matter, right? Or they're going to be able to tell you if they're going to take action or non-action on that matter. And eventually, this last thing is be smart, be transparent. Do things that, you know, always assuming everyone will know, right? Don't feel like, you know, the cat is away, the mouse can play. Always try to do the right thing and be transparent, because eventually people will find out, including the SEC. So some of the resources, if you're into regs for ICO, you want to really know what's going on, not just in the United States, but the entire world, go to coincenter.org. It's a no-profit out of Washington. Good friend Peter runs the governance part. That's a good resource if you want to know the compliance about ICO. And they're basically the middleman between the blockchain community and the Congress, Washington. The SEC, that's the email, chairmanoffice@sec.gov. What you can do, you can send an email there, ask to speak to someone. Probably a guy by the name of Mark Villardo will call you back with no caller ID, okay? And say, hi, I'm Mark from the SEC. He's the general chief of the SEC. And you guys are going to start talking about, and he's going to give you some pointers. And then he's going to tell you to file these forms, right? Take a look at this link, take a shot of this. And basically what you're doing here, you're describing your situation, your problem. You say, hey, you know, here's the token I'm planning on launching. Here's my thought process around utility value. And here's why I think this is not a security. And you can do that. You can ask for advice, right? That's the first link, meaning like, tell me what you, SEC, tell me what you think. Or you can ask for non-action. Basically, tell me if you're going to take action or not, meaning you're going to shut me down or not. And lastly, there's a security law framework that was developed by Coinbase, Union Square Venture, and a bunch of other guys back last year, so almost a year ago, around, you know, to figure it out if your token is a security or not, right? So you can use this link to get to a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet is going to have a bunch of questions, and then basically on this, based on the score of the questions that you're going to respond, it will tell you whether you're likely to be a security or not. So there's a bunch of resources that you can use today to be able to kind of, you know if you're on the right side of justice. Ask me, so if you have any questions based out of San Francisco, I have a ICO advisory company out of there, so I advise a company how to, go from 0 to ICO and beyond. So if you feel like you want to reach out and ask me any question, I'm on your LinkedIn, we'll take it from there. Thanks, everyone. Oh, yeah, just time for a question? One? Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning, when the ICO company is created, what is it that people are using regularly? Are they using Reg A, Reg D? What is it that they are choosing and why? Most of them, what is it that they're using?
So it's a good question, and ultimately it depends what they're trying to do. The sad story here is that there's so much misinformation, and nobody really knows what to do. So they start writing the white paper, assembling the team, getting the lawyers involved, writing the smart contract, getting the marketing PR firm, and the last thing they do is this. And now they can't sleep because they know if it's going to be basically they're issuing a security, it's going to be 25 to life. And nobody wants to serve 25 to life. So that's the whole point. To me, they're trying to educate you. There's a lot of resources out there. Usually Reg A, D, and D are for crowd sales, and they're awesome tools you can research. Everyone has a little different, so based on how much you're raising and those kind of things. Reg A is the simplest version, I would say. Reg A plus, and then Reg D ultimately is the more complex version. So good question.